He's term limited, but he still wants to be elected. Ralph Milos tonight. Nice to have you in. Thanks for coming in. We got snow falling as we produce the program here late this afternoon, this evening, and it's that wet stuff at 30 degrees. I told you when you were complaining about 4 degrees and snow not to complain because it's white and puffy. When it's 4 degrees, it's a mess tonight. So be careful of getting around. I guess Wednesday, the same kind of thing. But you don't start the show for the first of the week talking about the weather, unless the weather's a story. We love the weather in television and radio, too. Great to have you in. Post-Super Bowl hangover. Let's get to it, and then we'll get to our guest, Ralph Milos, the Secretary of State, who wants to be Lieutenant Governor. Didn't you feel like it was? I mean, nobody can predict that after the first play of any athletic event, but you kind of felt like it was. I liked this, and as soon as I said it on the radio, people were like yelling back at me that, not really. This has got to go. This part of the whole Super Bowl coverage has got to go, in my humble opinion. Not everybody agrees with me on that either. That's okay. That's why the world rotates on an axis. Yep. And there's more coming. It's nice to have a cool million just to throw into a race, isn't it? And then there's more money fights going on between gubernatorial candidates. So we've got a full agenda here this evening. Let's get to it. Super Bowl. We'll talk Super Bowl in sports because it is still the nation's conversation. Didn't you kind of feel like it was? Here are the two the versions from each city. Denver's headline: "See Sick." Get it? Seahawks. See Sick, and of course Seattle celebrating their championship. Man, it was bad. I'm so glad that my wife and I just stayed home, threw on a pair of sweats, relaxed, didn't do the hustle and bustle of the Super Bowl party. Joe Namath overdressing once again. But as soon as this, you just had a feeling like, uh-oh. Because if Peyton's not in control and the center's not in coordination with the quarterback, and that is the essence of their complicated offense, and like right off the bat, that something wasn't going to be good. And boy, were they energized on that defense. And the offense played pretty well, too. It wasn't even a ball game. I mean, I don't have to tell you that. I'm just commiserating. But didn't you have this queasy feeling like game over right away? You can't say it, but you felt it. Next item. I thought even before that, maybe the best part of the entire evening was the national anthem. Renee Fleming here, she was great. A little excerpt.
Through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming.
Now, when I said that on the radio, I got some response, supportive of my position, but some people were saying it was like a funeral dirge. And that opinion was offered here on the set as well, Director Stephen said. But you know what? That's what makes the world go around. I like a classy national anthem. It adds panache to the event and makes you feel like it's big time. So I'd rather go with the opera singer than some of the nonsense that we've seen over the course of time in the past. Speaking of nonsense, my last Super Bowl thought, there'll be more over the course of the week because there's a whole bunch of stories we haven't gotten to, but my last thought, what was it? What did I actually write? I can't remember. Out of place. Thank you, Steve. Take two. Can we stop this? Can we just stop this? Roll tape. Just stop. Stop this. This is the president with Bill O'Reilly. Now listen, it was 10 minutes. Most of it was smash mouth from O'Reilly on Obamacare and Benghazi, and I get that. But it's 4:30 in the afternoon. Most people are getting their cocktails ready. It's Super Bowl Sunday. I'm just as wanting to see the president answer the tough questions. O'Reilly does a good job, but the whole thing is out of context. Out of context. Leave our president alone on Super Bowl Sunday. And if you want to interview the president in front of 100 million people, it's okay to say, hey, how's the family? What kind of party you having? What do you think about Denver and Seattle? But you know what? When I said that on the radio today, I got killed. The people said, what's the matter with you? He never answered any question. I know, but it's Super Bowl Sunday, for heaven's sake. All right, I'm just saying. Enough of that. I don't know why they put that in. All right, let's get home. There's 4 in the race now. This guy, Lorne Adrian. There's 16 ways to say his name, but only one correct way. Lorne Adrian is in the mayor's race. We have a headline from WPRI.com. He announced this morning, so we're kind of ahead of the news cycle here. Here's a very short clip as he talks to his peeps.
Today is about returning potential, possibility, and promise to everyone in the city.
Yes, that's what we want. We want potential to be realized, and we want progress. We all want that, right? You didn't see me going, yes. That's something that we absolutely want. I'm cracking up. All this coverage now of 4 candidates. Here are the other 3, all of whom have appeared on the program already. Brett Smiley, who will share the East Side constituency battle, I guess, with Mr. Adrian. That's the conventional wisdom. Jorge Alorza, who is an established municipal court judge and law professor, and Mike Solomon, the city council president. Now you have 4 with Mr. Adrian in the race. And what's cracking me up, like I mentioned to you last week, is that the press doesn't seem to want to recognize what this does. Every time you add another player into the race, it moves toward guaranteeing that Buddy Cianci will have a 3rd term. And you know how the press has been, they worked the Clay Pell story before he was formally announced, or even semi-formally with an exploratory committee. Oh, and this guy Clay Pell might be running. Why, with everybody who I'm sure has multiple source that Buddy Cianci has spoken about his absolute decision to run for mayor, why is everybody shuffling around this like it's some kind of, can't talk about that, can't write about that? You deserve to know. Buddy Cianci's laughing over 4 candidates in the race because he's 25 to 30% lock, and yeah, he'll step into a Democratic primary. It's all mercenary when it comes to local politics anyway. And you want to talk about splitting the atom. This atom is split. These 4 candidates stay in the race, and maybe John Lombardi gets in just for added measure. Buddy Cianci is your next mayor again. Hey, members of the press, my fellow members of the media, my brothers and sisters in television, radio, news, and everything else. Write about it. It's okay. Good Lordy Lou. All right, and speaking of big-time candidates and money and all that kind of thing, yeah, Pell dropped $1 million into the race. Clay Pell did. Even though the press kind of gave him an advantage by pre-selling him before he spent the dime, he threw his $1 million in. And on the issue of, I'm going to make an editorial decision. The staff's going to say, what? I have audio from Clay Pell. Steve, I'm not going to run it because I'm looking at my clock. I'm running out of time. Let me just mention that we'll play it overtime. Clay was on Newsmakers this week and botched just about every question that Tim and Ted actually, gave to him. But as I look at my clock, I got to spend some time with Ralph Milos here. Just know that this guy's $1 million in, but his answers aren't $1 million yet. I'll get to it. That's an audible. Omaha. I'm better than Steve got that. Jess is, I don't know, doing something else. Steve says he's vacationing in Omaha now. Okay, let's go. Final thing when it comes to the governor's race. Here's a press release that Angel Tavares put out today, urging Treasurer Gina Raimondo to call on the big super PAC to return a $100,000 donation to ex-Enron executive and hedge fund billionaire. What is this all about? Look, this guy, this guy who's got a big chunk of money, right? Who helped her with the pension fight, with the Engage RI fight. He's from Texas. He sends $100,000 to the Lead Her Ship, get it? Lead Her. It's all about electing women. Lead Her Ship campaign. This is what we talked about last week with John Marion from Common Cause. The candidates are all going to get together and try to wish the big super PAC money out. Here's what John said last week about that process.
They're going to sign this. The candidates themselves are going to sign this. So they need to own it. So it's got to be something that they all want. I'm just going to emphasize, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. Let's get something here that, Brown Warren, that pledge wasn't perfect, but it was good enough to get the job done.
So the super PAC money is the money that's not run by the candidates and it's unlimited to contribute to. Here's the interesting thing. When Angel Tavares asked Gina Raimondo to ask for that money to go away, the Raimondo campaign came back and said, I don't know if we can do that. Why don't you do something with your own funding, da-da-da-da. But the leadership campaign said something funny. Lead Her Ship campaign. We're not allowed to talk to Gina about anything. So if she asks us to get rid of the money, we can't respond to that. Tricky. The whole thing is very, very tricky. And this week we'll tell the story as to whether there's a whole bunch of outside dough. coming into the governor's race. All right, when we come back, he doesn't have a lot of outside dough right now, at least, but he is running again. He's term limited as Secretary of State, and he's pursuing Lieutenant Governor. Ralph Milos, stay with us.
The governor just wants to put this behind us. It became embroiled in a controversy that I'm sure he didn't want, and now we're reestablishing a tradition of decorating and lighting our State House Christmas tree and celebrate the holiday season.
Honest to God, honestly, I give Ralph Milos a hard time a lot. He knows it, I know it. But I said on the radio, and I'll say it today, might have been his best move as Secretary of State when it comes to politics, looking like a broker, and you got to give credit where credit's due. Here's the headline from last week or whatever. So, okay, this is the formal announcement that he is actually running for Lieutenant Governor. Good to see you.
Nice to be here, Dan.
It was one of your, so when you decided to go see the governor about this, we're not going to do the whole Christmas tree thing here tonight, but I thought that was one of your best moves.
Oh, actually, it was something that happened in 2012 first.
What do you mean?
I went to go see the governor in October of 12, asked if he'd reconsider lighting the Christmas tree. To his credit, he stood firm on what he believed in. After the first of the year, I brought it up again, and I said, Governor, I'm going to be seeing you again at the end of this year, and spoke again in October, and he just said, you know, it's time to put it behind us, and if you don't mind, I'd love for you to light it. It was great. It really was. Had the family there. It was just a great night and great to get it going again in the State House.
Well, you know, it's really one of his biggest political heels, Achilles heels in his political life, and you were able to take him off the hook, and you look like, you know, the man with the sensibilities. And I thought that was one of your better moments.
Thank you.
It's not a substantial matter for the state necessarily, but it certainly was a lingering thing. So good for you on
Thanks.
that. Don't you want a real job in the private sector at some juncture? You just keep want to run and run and run and run. You're out 2 terms as Secretary of State, running for Lieutenant Governor. Why?
Well, first, I had 13 years in the private sector before becoming mayor.
Yeah, all right.
So
How long were you mayor in North Providence?
10 years.
All right, so 10 there, 8
7,
years.
well, 8, so
you're
18.
18 years in.
Yes. So I spent.
So go back.
Actually, and we talked about this. It's something I looked at, but I've seen firsthand that you can make a difference in public service. I mean, I've seen firsthand what we can do in the Secretary of State's office. This job right here, Lieutenant Governor, is one that invites vision, invites leadership, it invites someone to tackle the issues of the day. I'm very excited about it.
Well, you know, that's interesting. You know, we've had Dan McKee on, who would be your opponent. There's no secret, you know, Dan and I are buddies, but you know, I've asked him too. Really, Lieutenant Governor? There's a lot of folks who believe differently than you do, that it's really an empty space, a giant sucking sound on $1 million budget, and a place where you can just kind of go and live happily ever after, not doing anything.
I'll put that $1 million into good use. And I would disagree. I think a general office without any boundaries, and you have your role on SBAC, the Small Business Advisory Council, and Long-Term Care Council, and EMA, but really it's a job without any boundaries. And I think you can really make a difference in that job. I would say it's just the opposite. It's one there where I think the opportunities are endless, and we're going to attack the skills gap. We're going to be the voice of small business. We're going to be the bridge for people to their government. And then also one thing I want to touch on to those people who think that it really isn't something that should be there. I want to see the governor and lieutenant governor run and serve together. I think that at least somewhat answers that question, because I think then it becomes most effective.
Yeah, the political ticket thing is interesting. So what you're telling me is that when you get in, you're going to try to make that one of your bully pulpit issues, and
Yes.
try to what, push legislation into the General Assembly
It'd
and try
have-
to get that done? Or
It'd
try
have to be on the Constitution.
That's a convention.
Exactly. Or just, it could be the convention, good point, or it just could be a question on the ballot, and so the people have to agree. About 25 other states do it.
Right, so either a convention or a ballot question.
Exactly.
Well, so you'd have to get legislation to approve a ballot
That's exactly
question.
right.
That'll be weird. If you're in there as lieutenant governor, actually proposing a ballot question about the very position that you're in, it'd have to be pushed out past your existence most likely, and so it might not even affect change until
2018.
Yeah, but you can still run for that. Whatever.
And it's something personally that, I mean, so if I ask for someone's vote, I'd rather tell them what I'm going to do for them, how I'm going to make a difference. When I have them run together, now I have to say you should vote for the governor. So personally, I'd rather ask for someone's vote based on what I think I can do for Rhode Island. I just think this works better. I think it's what the people want. I think it's what government needs, and I'll be fighting for it.
Well, it's good. This thing is entrepreneurial. There's no doubt. Whether it's McKee or Milos, it does provide an entrepreneurial role in government because it is so undefined. I'll let McKee come in here and argue his own case. You know, he wants to be kind of the education czar and kind of the municipal guy that kind of bring services together. You have another role for it. So at least you guys may be arguing not against each other, but on different paths during this entire election.
Could be. And, you know, I think we have contrasting views, and I think we may agree a lot being former mayors, but you're right, I think we have two different platforms, and should be a very interesting campaign.
He's raised a couple hundred G's.
Yes.
You have less than 50.
Yes.
So what up?
That's something that I've always had a habit of doing. When I'm in office, I don't raise money. I have one fundraiser a year, not one to ask for money while I'm in office, and did it in 2010 when I ran for re-election. In December, my balance was $15,000. We ended up spending, I think, $400,000 in the campaign. So I will raise what I need to raise in this year to be competitive and to be successful. Just don't like doing it in off years.
In off years.
Yes.
I get it. When we come back, we'll talk about what he's done in the on years as Secretary of State. One of the bigger decisions that Ralph made was about how we vote. I'm not so sure it's going to stick. Stay with us. There is the Mayor of Cumberland, Lieutenant Gubernatorial candidate Dan McKee. Previously on our broadcast, his opponent is Secretary of State Ralph Milos, who wants to move over to the Lieutenant Governor's office. We were chatting during the break, actually, that with a very busy gubernatorial race, mayoral race in Providence, perhaps a lot of attention drawn to the treasurer's race, you think that the Lieutenant Governor's race might fly under the radar screen. Do you think that's going to benefit you because you've got name recognition statewide?
I'm not sure. I don't know if it'll benefit either one of us, and I guarantee both, I don't want to speak for Dan, but I think both of us would say we don't want it to fall under the radar. I mean, we want to talk about the issues. We want people to vote for all the right reasons. So hopefully it does get some attention, especially with a big gubernatorial primary.
Listen, I've been hard on you in history. The one thing about Ralph Milos is he comes, he looks me square in the eye, unlike some folks out there in the political scene. But I don't see a purposefulness in this particular run for you. I mean, workforce development, blah, 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 blah. You know, seriously, I mean, what is your purpose here?
Again, you may, hopefully you do believe what I'm saying, but it's really to make a difference in that job. I mean, you know, like anybody else, I'm sure we can all say.
I don't think Rhode Islanders really care one way or the other who ends up that there's a difference in that job.
However, if someone in that job actually creates a working environment where we fill the skills gap, where Electric Boat comes in and actually hires Rhode Islanders,
how are you going to make that work from that spot? Everything you're going to want to do is you're going to need General Assembly this or General Assembly that. The big idea is still missing economically. How do you think anybody from that position could impact the economy?
Well, one of the first things we're going to, I think there's two ways. We're going to develop this task force of educational leaders. I mean, really, it's elementary ed and higher ed on talking to each other, the two of them on talking to trades and labor. We don't have philanthropic organizations around the table talking about what the trades need and the type of students we're graduating. And then I'm also going to be chair of the Small Business Advisory Council. They have great ideas. I mean, one thing, again, you're right, the Lieutenant Governor can't do it alone. But together we can make a difference, and the Lieutenant Governor, when I'm there, will be talking about the fact that Rhode Island's so geographically small, yet we have a sales tax that is almost 1% greater than our neighboring states. If we can lower it to where they're at, it will be revenue neutral, because for every 1% we lose on the small ticket item that we're still buying in Rhode Island, we're going to gain on the 6% of the big ticket item we're now going to buy here.
So are you going to campaign with a specific economic agenda, a la sales tax, for instance?
No, I wouldn't do that, but that would be one thing I'm talking about. I will be talking about the Workforce Development Task Force and filling the skills gap. You wouldn't do that, why? Because it's too risky? Or people are just dying for something substantial from any candidate for any office. Actually, Dan, I think it's just the opposite. It's so common sense that I think people would say, give me more. I mean, of course our sales tax should be equal to Connecticut and Massachusetts.
If it's so common sense, why is it just so flat in discussion in the General Assembly right now?
I can't answer that, but hopefully it's something that will happen in 2014.
Speaking of the General Assembly, real quick, listen, you were actually turned around on the issue of voter ID in the past. Then you went into the Secretary of State's office and you made it work, to your credit. And now they're going to turn that sucker around again. Are you in there battling? Yeah,
we're talking about it. It's the first thing I did come January. I'm convinced we're going to save it. I think that it may need a little bit of work as far as allowing a couple of non-photos like Social Security card and birth certificate allowed, but it's a national model. I've been arguing how it has not disenfranchised any voters. People are talking about Rhode Island voter ID, and I'm going to do all I can to save it.
Well, I hope you do, because it was one of your better moves.
Oh, thank you.
What is this boycott thing? I see you on the list of 14 candidates. You're not going to, you can't talk to me. You can talk to me here. You can't talk to me on WPRO because of a John DePietro controversy. You're not going to spend any money on Cumulus Radio. Is that because you have a philosophical principle, or because you just don't want to fight the unions who are supporting this whole concept?
Definitely not the latter. I mean, I can tell you that it's out of respect for our daughters, and that's the bottom
For our
line.
daughters is a fake organization.
Well, it's an organization
They
that's
put it
calling.
up just to go after the guy.
But it's an organization that's calling all of us, and whether we're fathers or sons or husbands or whatever it is, it's pretty tough to go to them. And by the way, I'm very comfortable saying, you know, we're behind you. Does it frustrate me not to be able to go on your show or Buddy's show or Matt's show? Yes, it does. And hopefully this will be resolved. And
So what happens when McKee doesn't honor that boycott, spends a lot of money on the radio, and all of a sudden, and because it's an important political tool for you, you can't, because you made a commitment elsewhere? What's going to happen?
Well, you have to live by your commitments. I hope it's gone by then. I mean, I really do.
Well, it's gone, meaning you hope they fire the guy.
Well, I just hope the issue is going, because I want to be on Buddy's show and your show and spend
The
the money
issue's going to
there.
go away only when they fire the guy. That's the commitment that you've made.
I made a
Do you
commitment
really
for our
think
daughters.
that as a politician that you ought to be trying to impact the business decisions and the First Amendment decisions, even though it's not really a First Amendment, the battle here, you know, of a private company on the broadcast airwaves? Isn't that a little cocky about all of you guys?
I think it's just more of a case of us honoring this organization that was very concerned over a word that was used on talk radio.
All right. Come back with us soon, okay?
Definitely. Thank you, Dan.
He's running for Lieutenant Governor. Ralph Milos, your Secretary of State. Your state of mind when we come back. Your state of mind, you know how to get in touch, right? 228-1886 is the telephone number. Email me or tweet at us at Dan Yorke Show. Here's a voicemail posted.
We need somebody who knows information, who actually can spell it out for people, who can actually tell people what is needed, okay? But actually not only be able to do that, but do it in such a way that when you listen to him, when you see everything that he's talking about, it actually makes sense.
Read Clay Pell, I guess. I'm short on time. We'll take that up tomorrow, 7:30 on My State of Mind. See ya.